Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into tonight's second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss any of the informative and exciting uploads I put out, click that bell icon. And finally, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And guys, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? All right, guys, so we're going to be hearing from Victor anytime now. And I figure, you know what? Let's share a hunt that he did in Wisconsin. Devil's Lake, Barbow, Wisconsin. September 17th, 1985. Victor's second hunt, Devil's Lake, Barbow, Wisconsin, 53913. I was called into the office and asked if I had enough rest and if I had completed all of my paperwork for my first case. I replied that I had it with me to turn in. I handed it over to the commander and he told me to have a seat while he read over the paperwork to see if any changes needed to be made. Just as soon as he said that, I questioned why there would need to be changes made. He tells me that sometimes agents word things in a way that they need to be changed to be better understood. So I sat there while he read the entire report from start to finish, including the spelling, and I'm not the best speller, but he found no errors. So finally he finishes up and he hands me a file and says, "Up front, go take it out. It's a Dogman, and it's bad. It's out of control. It's killed dozens of cattle, domestic dog, and cat. Now it's finally crossed the line. Last night almost seems like it's having fun scaring teenage kids. But then something happened and it killed a 16-year-old girl. As best as we can tell, she got separated from the rest of her group. They ran off and left her. We don't know. There are 3 more people for you to interview that were with the girl, and there are 4 farmers also that need to be talked with. So you will have plenty to interview, and it will be up to you who you call on. You will have to go by the coroner's office to view the body as they brought it out after they took photos of the scene and of the body. You can read up on the file as you fly out. There's a helicopter in the back waiting for you. All of the arrangements have been made. When you land, the sheriff's office will pick you up." So I grab my gear from my office, and the commander catches me in the hallway and tells me to be safe and happy hunting. I have all of my equipment with me. And Scott is retiring the next day. He tells me all I need to carry is my Colt, that I will not use the rest. Me being me, said I would feel better having them with me, but I would remember what he's telling me, and that's what I would carry after this Dogman. I wished him well on his retirement, headed out to the helicopter, got loaded up and locked down, and I start to read the file from the sheriff's department. Not a whole lot to read about 7 cows dead on 4 different farms, and at least 12 dogs. 4 cats have gone missing with no sign of them to be found. According to the file, this has been going on now for almost a solid month, and nothing has been done to stop it from getting worse. The cattle are all eaten on, so that says the creature is hungry. So there must not be a lot of wild game in the area. The creature could be hurt, and is catching what is easiest for it to catch and feed on. But I'm left asking myself, why did it attack a human like that? After it just ran the other group of kids like it did, what caused it to turn on just one person? Now I've read it twice and cannot get any more out of it, so I lean over and fall asleep. After a while, the pilot wakes me up and tells me we are getting ready to land and there are people on the ground waiting for me. As soon as we touch down, I am met by the sheriff and one of his understudies, and he is ordered to get my things. Me seeing he is unable to carry it all, I grab my double rifle case and let him get the rest. We put it in the trunk of the car and head to the coroner's office. He said we should get there before it closes. It's closed when we get there, and he asks how I want to handle this with viewing the body and conducting the interviews. I asked if he knew I was coming, and the sheriff answered yes. I said to get him back here so I could get that much taken care of today. He sent a car to his house and had him return, and you could tell he was not in a pleasant mood after having to return to work. He was very professional and asked if anyone needed to leave the room, as this was the worst thing he had ever seen in his entire life. He gave us gloves and a mask and told me that she had been eaten on, and that there was not a part of her body that wasn't cut up or bit on, and to prepare ourselves for what we were about to see. He started pulling back the sheet slowly, starting with the head and neck area, and the face was not bad at all. And I thought, well, good, this can be an open casket. There was a huge bite mark on the rear of her neck that had broke her neck, so she died quickly and fast, as the coroner believed this to be the first wound. The sheriff and 2 deputies had stepped closer to get a better look, and were talking under their breath that she wasn't in bad shape. The coroner, hearing this, glances up at me and blinks an eye. Then he rips back the sheet off the rest of her body, or let's say what's left of it. The sheriff gasps at the sight, and his 2 deputies, one vomiting, the other having to leave the room. I stood back and took in what my eyes were seeing and the severity of it all. All the flesh was gone off of the torso front. There were no intestines or organs left. They guessed they had been eaten. Her legs looked like someone took a butcher's knife and sliced down to the bone, about every 3/4 of an inch, thick slice starting from the top of her legs down to her knees. From her knees down, they had been peeled down to the bone. Me and the coroner put fresh sheets over her and then went outside to meet with the sheriff again. Once outside, all 3 law officers wanted to get on. Then the coroner and I had to calm them down and let them know that I have a killing machine on the loose and we need to work together. Then they all questioned that just by seeing the body that I know what killed her, and I answered, a Dogman. Well, now you can't be talking about any such monster when I have a maniac on the loose. I informed him that he did indeed have a maniac on the loose, and it's not human. And if you think it's human, you are wrong, and I will prove it to you. Can you spare me the car I asked for? He said, I will give you 1 man and a car full time, all I can afford to give to you at this time. So he gave me a 64-year-old deputy that couldn't carry my gear to start with. So I guess we should go and talk to the farming family, so we ride to the sheriff's office. Carson calls up the family, and yeah, they're still up, and said, come on by. But to be careful, there are no lights outside the farmhouse. Carson sees me put on my Colt and my AR platform military issued long gun, and giggles and asks if we are going bear hunting. I look and see he is carrying a Smith & Wesson Model 10 .38 Special and suggest he grab a shotgun with buck loaded in it. His face gets serious. This must be bad, he said out loud. We are just going to talk, I said. We drove for what seemed like forever. But it was only 27 minutes when we pulled up, and every light in the upstairs of the two-story farmhouse was on. Carson says to sit still till all the lights come on down the stairs. He turns his blue light on. When all of the lights come on, we get out and Carson hurries me up to the front door, where they are all waiting just inside, all 9 of them. Wow, I was told there were only 4 witnesses. And an older man who is the father spoke up and said, "No, that's wrong." He introduces himself as Ted. This is my wife Kathy, my boys Seth, Tony, Andy, Philip, Greg, Michael, and Teddy. There's more, but they're all upstairs with the grandkids. But they can come down if you need them to be. We sat down at a table that I knew would sit 24 to 25 people, and it was dead silent. I asked Ted to tell me what he knew about what had happened. This was his statement. I guess it all started back at the start of the year. They started cutting timber off of two huge tracts of land next county over, and also 1 or 2 counties north of us started cutting large amounts of trees as well. The railroad runs alongside my bottom pasture and an old train truss right in the corner with a large national forest on the other side of that, second largest in the state. Anyway, word gets out that there's a monster in Johnson's Bottom, and all of the high school kids start coming out at night to see what they could see. I went to the sheriff and he told me to put up a poster, and I did. That just made it worse. The bridge has a new rope on it where they used to swing out into the creek, but they used to not tear up my crops and leave all their trash behind. Now we have to go 2 or 3 times a week to clean it up. So after 3 weeks or so, my boys were tired of picking up trash that they didn't do, so they go get on the bridge and lie in wait for the kids going to make them clean up their mess. This went on for days, and they would not be there when the kids came. Finally, I spoke and told them by Friday afternoon I wanted that to be done. So 3 boys go down on Thursday night, and here comes about 17 carloads in the area, throwing trash in the corn rows, but as the boys watched, they could tell they were able to throw them a long way, and they started to see a corn stalks moving back and forth. Then some of the older boys would stay about 25 yards away from the corn, then run up to it, shake a corn stalk or 2, and run for the bridge. You could only see the corn stalk shake as something moved through them trying to catch up with the runner. This went on too long. Once again, I reported to the sheriff, and he told me to block the road bed leading to the old bridge. The night that Susan died, we had blocked the road bed with a steel pole so they couldn't get in, and that had worked most of the day, cleaning up down there. All I can figure is there were enough of them to be able to lift the anchor post out of the ground. This is the only night we had ever heard them leave because we heard squealing tires on the main road. And then the next day, the missing girl on the radio, and one of my boys said, "You don't suppose something happened down there last night?" Myself and all my boys and 5 of the wives went just in case we found her and needed a woman. When we got to the gate, I knew they had lifted it before the sackcrete had set up. We pulled around, and I spotted her almost immediately and told a woman to return to the house and call the sheriff, that we had a dead body in Johnson's Bottom. Me and the boys walked over and looked, and I wish we had not. The tracks around the body appeared to be canine. I interrupted and said that they're a Dogman. "A what?" was shot at me, and I explained. I asked permission to stay in the barn closest to the Bottoms, and he said he would feel better if I stayed in the house. I then explained what I was here to do, and that I needed to hunt with privacy. He offered his boys help, and I said I'm glad you all didn't try to do it on your own. So myself and 3 of his boys just rode down to the spot where they found the body. Then they dropped me off at the barn on the way back, maybe half a mile from the bridge. I get out my bright light as I start to head into the broken down barn. Pistol is out and ready. What I'm hoping for is that I will be standing in the middle of the barn just waiting for me to arrive. Boy, was I disappointed. Found me a clean, dry place, rolled out my bedroll. Early next morning, I guess 6:30, there's a noise trying to get in. Maybe I am in its sleeping space, but no, again, it's the farmer coming to see if I want to join them for breakfast. After I ate and talked to everyone again, I started to walk back to the barn. When I finally get to start my hunt on this Dogman, things seem pretty straightforward, and I walk down to see what they have been feeding this creature come nightfall. I found the wrappers that they had been giving it. I went back to the farmhouse and called my assistant from the sheriff's office and told him what we were going to need for the night, and that I would also need him to work the night shift tonight and get ready himself. So the deputy arrived at 17:30 with my supplies and showed him where to park the car and remind me of it till I came out to the car, the events, the actual hunt. I started placing the burgers 12 to 16 feet from the edge of the cornrows. After that, I climbed up on the bridge and took up a good overall view of the area. I had been sitting in the same position for the past 3 hours with nothing to show for my time, and it's 20:36 hours. As I start to stand, there is the longest howl, I believe. I can hear movement in the corn, but I cannot see anything. This went on for several minutes, and I didn't realize how long it had lasted. The next time I checked the time, it was 3:03 hours, and then, just then, I saw it for the first time. There, directly under me, looking up as if it's getting ready to jump up toward me, looking down and seeing those red eyes just staring up. After we locked eyes, I slowly moved for my Colt, but he picked up on my slightest movement, and I guess I picked up on the danger. So I got down and tried to follow, and was able to for a long way. You could follow him easily, so after 1 hour and 15 minutes, I turned around and returned to the bridge and found out that it had been wiped out the burgers, and then I remembered that Carson was at the barn entrance and I needed to check on him without getting shot. I walked up to the patrol car, and there he was. All the doors were locked. He was fast asleep behind the wheel. I told him what I would need again tonight and thought I would do some more exploration of the general area. After a couple of hours, I had located an old family cemetery about 9/10 of a mile from the bridge. After walking out and talking the farmer back to the cemetery, we called the sheriff and was trying to figure out who was buried here. He said we would have to contact the National Forestry Service, but it would be hard to get any information from them. I explained that it didn't matter who owned it, but someone needs to know who's there and who does the upkeep on the property. There's about 34 graves out there. After this, I lied down. It's now maybe 13:45 hours, knowing that I have to be up again at 17:30 when Carson shows up. Ted and Carson and 3 of his boys were watching the barn when I woke up at 17:50. Ted said we could tell you looked tired, so we were going to watch while you slept. No, now I have to rush and get set up. Boy, I was mad. A couple of your boys have to come help me set up. Now, who's going with me? Ted said that would be Seth. Just show us what you need. We got the job done, and Carson was at the barn across the road, and the farmer and his family were all safe at their home. After several hours, it was 2:38 hours, when I saw the first cornstalk move, and man, was it slight. And then I noticed I was down to maybe 3 or 4 burgers left hanging. I perked up. Then I could see it moving in the cornfield, and I watched it retrieve one of the burgers. It would get to the edge of the cornfield, get on its belly, and then it would crawl till directly under them, then reach straight up and get the burger down. So back in he went now. There's 3 burgers left. I have my rifle up ready to shoot. I know it has to have seen me tonight as I have changed my location on the bridge. As I got ready to take the shot, it crawled out to get the last burger. He turned his head up toward me like he was just checking to make sure the coast was clear. But I hit him right above the left eye, and he never knew it was coming. Carson comes running down there after my shot, but I was down off the bridge before he saw the creature lying on the ground. I gave him a piece of paper and asked him to make these calls for me, and not to let anyone till the military comes in to retrieve it. He said, "Yes, sir," and off went Carson on his own world of natural things. I went to work on prepping the creature for transport. I measured 7 foot 11 inches tall and weighing at least 395. Not too bad. The fur I thought was soft, but the smell was almost unbearable. We were so busy right at this particular time, it took 15 hours and 21 minutes to get a transport to my location. All right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed that hunt as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'm getting really excited hearing from Victor. I really do. I guess I miss having him on the show periodically, sharing little tidbits with us. It was always interesting when he was on the show. And, I'm hoping that when he comes back, I can maybe convince him to stay, maybe twice a month, do a show with me or whatnot. We talked in the live stream last night a little bit about him. And, it really, for the new people who are new, that, have no idea any of the things that went on, are still kind of, hey, what's the deal about Victor? And then you've got the people that have been with the channel for a while that have been there when, he was proven to be who he said he was, when he went and paid Luke's family farm a visit in Taylor, Mississippi. The strange emails that I received that you cannot recreate or duplicate or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, hopefully he agrees. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half. Be safe, happy, and healthy, and God bless you all.